The elevator's metallic hum vibrated through my swollen feet as I shifted my weight, one hand instinctively cradling the curve of my belly. 8 months. 8 months of carrying this secret, this life, this burden that grew heavier with each passing day. The divorce papers felt like burning coal in my worn leather purse, edges already softened from my nervous fingers tracing them over and over during the train ride into the city. I shouldn't have come here. Not to this building with its marble floors and crystal chandeliers. Not to this world that had chewed me up and spit me out 2 years ago. But Marcus's lawyer had been clear. If I wanted this done quickly, cleanly, without complications, I needed to sign in person. No more delays. No more excuses. The doors slid open on the 42nd floor, revealing a reception area that smelled of leather and expensive cologne. My threadbare coat suddenly felt even more inadequate. I'd tried to look presentable, a simple black dress that stretched across my pregnant belly, my hair pulled back in a neat bun, but I knew I looked exactly like what I was. A woman who'd been surviving, not living, for far too long. "Can I help you?" The receptionist's voice was polished glass, her eyes sweeping over me with barely concealed disdain. "I have an appointment. Emma Ross, for the Castellano matter." Her perfectly manicured fingers flew across her keyboard. "Take a seat. Someone will be with you shortly." I lowered myself carefully into one of the waiting chairs, my back aching. The baby kicked, a sharp jab against my ribs that made me wince. "Shh," I whispered, rubbing the spot. "Almost done. Just a signature, and we're free." Free. The word tasted like ash. I'd thought I was free when I left Marcus, when I'd packed my single suitcase and disappeared in the middle of the night. I'd thought I was free when I'd moved 3 states away, when I'd taken the job at the diner, when I'd convinced myself that I could build a life from nothing. But freedom, I'd learned, was just another kind of prison when you were alone. The elevator chimed again. I didn't look up. Not until the entire atmosphere of the room changed. It was like a pressure drop before a storm. That electric tension that made the hair on your arms stand up. The receptionist straightened immediately, her professional mask slipping into something closer to fear. "Mr. Castellano, we weren't expecting—" "Clear the floor." The voice cut through the air like a blade. Deep, controlled, absolute. I knew that voice. It had whispered promises in the dark, had shouted orders that sent men scrambling, had gone cold and flat when I'd dared to ask too many questions about the blood on his shirts. My breath caught. No, he couldn't be here. This was supposed to be simple. Sign the papers, leave, never look back. I kept my head down, praying he wouldn't notice me among the scattered chairs and potted plants. My hand moved protectively to my belly, as if I could somehow hide 8 months of pregnancy beneath my palm. Everyone out. Now. I heard movement, the click of heels, the rustle of papers being gathered in haste, the receptionist's nervous breathing as she passed my chair. Within 30 seconds, the floor was empty, except for the security detail I could sense more than see, positioned at strategic points like chess pieces. And him. I could smell his cologne, that same intoxicating blend of cedar and smoke that used to cling to my skin after he held me. I could hear his footsteps, expensive Italian leather against marble, measured and deliberate. He was walking through the reception area, probably heading to the conference room where his empire was managed with signatures and threats. "Just don't look at me. Please, God, just walk past." The footsteps stopped. My heart hammered so hard I was certain he could hear it. The baby kicked again, harder this time, as if sensing my panic. I pressed my hand more firmly against my stomach, willing everything to be still, to be invisible. Emma. Not a question. A statement. My name in his mouth after 2 years of silence, and it still had the power to make my spine straighten. My pulse race. I forced myself to look up. Dante Castellano stood 5 feet away, and time might as well have stopped. He looked exactly the same, sharp jaw, dark hair perfectly styled, a charcoal suit that probably cost more than I'd earned in 6 months. But it was his eyes that trapped me, those dark eyes that had always seen too much, that had stripped away every defense I'd ever tried to build. Those eyes were currently traveling down my body, stopping at the unmistakable swell of my belly. I watched the color drain from his face, watched his jaw clench, a muscle ticking in his cheek, watched his hands, those dangerous, capable hands, curl into fists at his sides. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't do anything but sit there as he stared at my pregnant stomach with an expression I couldn't read. Shock? Rage? Something else entirely? How long? His voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of a threat. I swallowed hard. That's not... I'm here to sign papers. That's all. How? Long. 8 months. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. But it's not. This isn't why I'm here. I just want to finalize everything and leave. He moved then, crossing the distance between us in 3 strides. Before I could react, he was crouching in front of me, his hands gripping the arms of my chair, caging me in. This close, I could see the storm building in his eyes, could feel the barely controlled fury radiating from him. 8 months, he repeated, his voice deadly soft. You've been carrying my child for 8 months, and you didn't think I deserved to know? It's not... I started, but the lie died on my lips when I saw his expression. Don't. The single word was a warning. Don't you dare try to tell me this baby isn't mine. I can count, Emma. I know exactly when you left. My throat tightened. Of course he knew. Dante knew everything. It was one of the things that had terrified me about him. The way he collected information like other people collected stamps. The way he could piece together truths from the smallest fragments. I wasn't going to say that, I whispered. I was going to say it's not your concern. Not anymore. Something dangerous flickered across his face. Not my concern? You're carrying my child, and you think it's not my concern? You never wanted children. You said... I said a lot of things. His hand moved before I could stop him, reaching out to hover just above my belly. He didn't touch, but I could feel the heat of his palm through the thin fabric of my dress. Did you really think you could hide this from me? Did you really think I wouldn't find out? I was going to tell you. After. The lie tasted bitter. I had no intention of ever telling him. I was going to sign the papers, disappear again, raise this baby alone in my tiny apartment above the diner where no one asked questions, and everyone minded their own business. After what? After you'd stolen my child? After you'd made sure I'd never know I was a father? You're a monster, Dante. The words ripped out of me, 2 years of suppressed fear and anger finally breaking through. You're a criminal. You hurt people. I never hurt you. The quiet intensity of his words stopped me cold, because it was true. In all the time we'd been together, through all the darkness I'd witnessed, all the violence that swirled around him like a permanent storm, he'd never once raised a hand to me. He'd sheltered me from the worst of his world, had kept me in a golden bubble where I could pretend that the man who kissed me goodnight wasn't the same man who'd ordered someone's death before breakfast. But that bubble had shattered the night I'd overheard him on the phone, casually discussing the elimination of a problem that turned out to be a 23-year-old kid who'd skimmed money from the wrong account. I'd realized then that it didn't matter how gentle Dante was with me. His hands were still stained with blood. You didn't have to, I said quietly. I was already dying inside, living in your world. His jaw clenched again. For a long moment, he just stared at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before in Dante Castellano's eyes, uncertainty. Then he stood abruptly, pulling out his phone. Antonio. Yes. Cancel everything. Everything. I don't care. Handle it. He ended the call and slipped the phone back into his pocket, his attention never leaving me. You're not signing anything today. What? No. Dante, I have to... The only thing you have to do right now is come with me. We need to talk. Really talk. I'm not going anywhere with you. Emma. He crouched down again, and this time when his hand moved to my belly, he made contact. His palm was warm through my dress, possessive and gentle all at once. The baby kicked against his hand, and I watched his entire expression transform. Wonder. Pure, unfiltered wonder. Please, just give me an hour. If you still want to sign those papers after we talk, I won't stop you. I should have said no. Should have stood up, walked away, protected myself and my baby from the magnetic pull of this dangerous man. But there was something in his voice, something vulnerable beneath all that controlled power. that made me hesitate. 1 hour, I heard myself say. And then I'm leaving. He stood, offering me his hand. I stared at it for a long moment. That hand that had held weapons, that had signed death warrants, that had once traced my skin like I was something precious and breakable. I took it. His fingers closed around mine, and I felt the tremor that ran through him. When I struggled to stand, weighted down by pregnancy and exhaustion, he slipped his other arm around my waist, supporting me with a gentleness that felt like a knife to the chest. "When did you last eat?" he asked, studying my face with an intensity that made me want to look away. "This morning. I'm fine." "You're pale, and you've lost weight everywhere except—" He gestured to my belly. "Have you been taking care of yourself?" "As well as I can on a waitress's salary." The words came out sharper than I'd intended, but they had the desired effect. His expression darkened, and I saw the guilt flash across his features. Good. He should feel guilty. He was the reason I'd been surviving on ramen noodles and free diner food, the reason I'd been working double shifts until my feet swelled so badly I could barely walk. "That ends now," he said quietly. "You don't get to—" "Emma." He turned to face me fully, his hand still at my waist, his other hand rising to cup my cheek. The gesture was so familiar it hurt. "I know I don't get to make demands. I know I have no right to anything after what you went through living in my world, but that's my baby, our baby, and I will not allow you to struggle. You don't control me anymore. I never controlled you. I loved you." His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. The elevator chimed. We both turned to see one of his men stepping out, eyes carefully averted from the intimate scene. "Mr. Castellano, the car is ready, and I've contacted Dr. Morrison. She's standing by at the penthouse." "Good." Dante's hand tightened fractionally on my waist. "Let's go." "Wait, what?" "I'm not going to your penthouse. And who's Dr. Morrison?" "My personal physician. You're 8 months pregnant, Emma. You need to be examined. Make sure everything is—" He stopped, and I saw fear flash across his face. Actual fear. "Make sure you and the baby are healthy." The protective instinct in his voice undid something inside me. This was the Dante I'd fallen in love with before I'd learned what he really was. The man who'd brought me soup when I was sick, who'd listened to my rambling stories about nothing, who'd made me feel like I was the center of his universe. But that man was an illusion. The real Dante was the one who ran an empire built on fear and violence, wasn't he? 1 hour, I repeated, my voice barely steady. "And I get to decide if I see the doctor." "Fair enough." He guided me toward the elevator, his hand never leaving my waist. As we stepped inside and the doors closed, sealing us into that small space together, I caught our reflection in the polished metal. We looked like strangers, and yet, the way his body curved toward mine, protective and possessive, told a different story entirely. The elevator began its descent, and I wondered if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life, or if maybe, just maybe, I'd made the only choice I could. The car was exactly what I'd expected. A black Mercedes with windows so darkly tinted I couldn't see inside until the door opened. The interior smelled of leather and that cologne that haunted my dreams. And when Dante's hand pressed against the small of my back, guiding me into the seat, I felt like I was stepping into a memory I'd tried desperately to bury. He slid in beside me, maintaining a careful distance that somehow felt more intimate than touching. The driver, a man I didn't recognize, though his posture screamed military training, pulled smoothly into traffic without a word. Another car followed behind us. Security. Always security. "You're afraid," Dante observed quietly. I turned to look at him, finding him watching me with that unnerving focus he'd always had. "Of course I'm afraid. I'm in a car with a man I've been running from for 2 years. You were never running from me, Emma. You were running from what I am." The distinction felt meaningless, but I didn't argue. Instead, I looked out the window, watching the city blur past. We were heading uptown, toward the glittering towers where people like Dante lived in the clouds, far above the problems of ordinary people. "Why did you come today?" he asked. "To the office, I mean. My lawyer could have sent papers for you to sign remotely. He said it would be faster this way." that there were complications with doing it by mail. He lied. Dante's voice hardened. Marcus has been stalling for months. I didn't know why until now. I turned sharply. What are you talking about? Marcus said you were the one holding things up. Marcus works for me, Emma, not you. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through something with quick, angry movements. He's been feeding you excuses while reporting back to me that you'd gone completely dark, that he couldn't find you to serve papers. The realization hit me like cold water. You've known where I was this whole time. Since 3 weeks after you left. He didn't look at me, still focused on his phone. You think I wouldn't move heaven and earth to find my wife when she disappeared in the middle of the night? Ex-wife. Almost ex-wife. Wife, he corrected, his voice dropping to that dangerous register that used to make my knees weak. The papers aren't signed, Emma. You're still mine. I was never yours. I stopped, my hand moving to my belly as the baby kicked hard. A sharp pain radiated across my lower back, and I couldn't suppress the small gasp. Dante's attention snapped to me immediately. What's wrong? Nothing. The baby it happens sometimes. Braxton Hicks contractions. They're normal. His jaw clenched. How would you know what's normal? When was the last time you saw a doctor? 2 weeks ago, at the free clinic. I lifted my chin defensively. They said everything was fine. A free clinic. He repeated the words like they tasted foul. You're carrying my child, and you've been going to a free clinic. Some of us don't have private physicians on speed dial, Dante. Some of us have to work for a living. You wouldn't have to work at all if you'd just... He stopped, running a hand through his hair in a gesture of frustration I remembered too well. Where have you been staying? That's none of your business. Emma. No. I turned to face him fully, anger finally overriding my fear. You don't get to do this. You don't get to swoop in now and act like you care. Where were you when I was throwing up every morning for 4 months? Where were you when I had to choose between paying rent and buying prenatal vitamins? Where were you when I was so tired I could barely stand, but I had to work a double shift because the diner was short-staffed? I was looking for you. His voice rose, then immediately dropped back to that controlled tone, but I could see the fury burning in his eyes. Every single day, Emma, every resource I had was dedicated to finding you, to making sure you were safe. Do you have any idea what it did to me? Not knowing where you were? Not knowing if you were hurt or sick or... He stopped, his hand clenching into a fist on his thigh. I thought you might be dead. There were nights I was certain you were dead. The raw pain in his voice caught me off guard. I'd never considered what my disappearance might have done to him. In my mind, Dante was invincible, untouchable. The idea that he'd suffered seemed impossible. Then why didn't you just finalize the divorce? I asked quietly. If you knew where I was, you could have forced it through, because I'm not ready to let you go. The admission hung in the air between us. Outside, the city continued its endless rhythm, but inside the car, time seemed to stop. I stared at him, at the man I'd once loved with a desperation that terrified me, and I saw something in his expression that made my chest tighten, longing, regret, and beneath it all, that same possessive hunger that had both thrilled and frightened me. Dante, we're here. The car had pulled up to a building I recognized, one of the most exclusive addresses in the city. The doorman was already opening my door, and Dante was out and around to my side before I could protest, offering his hand again. I didn't take it this time. I managed to extract myself from the car on my own, though the movement was awkward and ungainly. My independence lasted exactly 3 steps before another contraction hit, this one stronger than the last. I must have made a sound, because suddenly Dante's arm was around me, supporting my weight. That's twice in 5 minutes. I'm fine. It's just... You're not fine. He was already guiding me toward the entrance, his body curved protectively around mine. And you're seeing the doctor. No arguments. The lobby was all marble and gold, the kind of ostentatious wealth that had once intimidated me. Now I just felt tired of running, tired of pretending I could do this alone, tired of carrying the weight of my choices. The elevator ride to the penthouse was silent. Dante kept his arm around me, his other hand resting lightly on my belly, and I was too exhausted to push him away. When the baby kicked against his palm, I felt him tense. "Does it hurt?" he asked softly. "When the baby moves?" "Sometimes. Mostly it's just strange. Like there's a person inside me, living their own life." "There is a person inside you." His voice was filled with wonder. "Our person." The elevator doors opened directly into the penthouse, a security feature I remembered from before. Nothing had changed. The same modern furniture, the same floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, the same grand piano in the corner that Dante had never learned to play. But there was something different. On the coffee table sat a stack of books, pregnancy guides, parenting manuals, books about child development. All of them looked well read, pages marked with sticky notes. I stared at them, my throat tightening. "Dante, I told you. I've been preparing." He guided me to the couch, helping me sit before crouching in front of me again. This seemed to be his preferred position now, on his knees, looking up at me. "From the moment I found out you were alive, I've been getting ready. Just in case." "In case of what?" "In case you came back." His hands rested on my knees, warm and steady. "In case I got a second chance." Before I could respond, the elevator chimed again. A woman in her 50s stepped out, carrying a medical bag. She had kind eyes and a professional demeanor that immediately put me at ease. "Dr. Morrison," Dante said, standing. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." "Of course." She smiled at me. "You must be Emma. I'm Claire Morrison. I specialize in high-risk pregnancies, though I'm sure there's nothing to worry about. Dante has told me a lot about you." I shot him a look. He had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "Let's get you examined, shall we?" Dr. Morrison set down her bag. "Is there somewhere we can have some privacy?" "The bedroom." Dante gestured toward the hallway. "I'll show you." "I know where it is," I said quietly. Because of course I did. I'd slept in that bedroom for 6 months, had memorized every inch of that space. The thought of going back there made my chest ache. "Doctor." Morrison helped me up, and I walked slowly down the hallway, feeling Dante's eyes on my back with every step. The bedroom was exactly as I remembered. King-sized bed with charcoal sheets, minimalist furniture. That same painting on the wall that I'd always thought looked like a storm over an ocean. "Lie down, dear," Dr. Morrison said gently. "Let's see how you and baby are doing." The examination was thorough but gentle. She checked my blood pressure, listened to the baby's heartbeat, measured my belly. Through it all, she asked questions. When was my due date? Had I been experiencing any unusual symptoms? Was I feeling the baby move regularly? "Everything looks good," she finally announced, helping me sit up. "Baby's heartbeat is strong, position is good. But Emma, you're measuring a bit small. Have you been eating enough?" I felt my cheeks heat. "I eat. It's just, finances have been tight." Her expression softened with understanding, not judgment. "I'm going to write down some recommendations for you. High-protein foods, prenatal vitamins, the good ones, not the cheap ones from the drugstore. And you need to be taking it easy. Working on your feet all day isn't good for you or the baby, especially this late in the pregnancy." "I don't have a choice. I have to work." "Actually," Dante's voice came from the doorway, "you don't." I turned to find him leaning against the frame, arms crossed. How long had he been standing there? "I told you to wait in the living room," Dr. Morrison said mildly. "It's my penthouse, and my child." He pushed off the frame, walking into the room. "What did you find?" Dr. Morrison looked at me for permission. I nodded, too tired to fight. "Mother and baby are healthy, but Emma's under too much stress. She needs rest, proper nutrition, and someone to make sure she's not overdoing it." She packed up her equipment. "I'd like to see you weekly from now on, Emma, just to monitor things as we get closer to your due date." "I can't afford—" "It's handled," Dante interrupted. "Send the bills to me, Claire." "Of course." Dr. Morrison smiled at me again. "I'll let myself out. Emma, take care of yourself, and call me immediately if you have any concerns, anytime, day or night." She handed me her card. After she left, silence filled the room. Dante stood by the window, backlit by the afternoon sun, and I could see the tension in his shoulders. "You're not going back to that diner," he said finally. "You can't tell me what to do." "I'm not telling you. I'm asking." He turned to face me. "Please, Emma. Stay here. Let me take care of you. Let me—" His voice cracked slightly. "Let me be there for our child. Even if you can't forgive me, even if you still want the divorce after the baby is born, just let me do this." I wanted to say no, wanted to maintain my independence, my hard-won freedom from his world. But I was so tired of struggling, tired of being afraid, tired of pretending I had everything under control when I was barely holding on. "Just until the baby is born," I heard myself say. "And we need rules. Anything. Separate bedrooms. You don't make decisions about the baby without consulting me. And if I want to leave, you let me go. No tricks, no tracking, no, I'll let you go if that's what you really want." He moved closer, stopping just out of reach. "But I'm going to fight like hell to convince you to stay." The intensity in his eyes made my breath catch. This was dangerous. Being here, in his space, letting him back into my life even temporarily. It was like standing at the edge of a cliff, but what choice did I have? The baby kicked again, as if casting a vote, and I pressed my hand to the spot. "Okay," I whispered. But just until... The rest of my sentence was cut off by a sharp, searing pain that ripped across my abdomen, not a Braxton Hicks contraction. Something else. Something wrong. I gasped, doubling over, and Dante was there instantly, his hands on me, his voice sharp with panic. "Emma? Emma, what's wrong?" Something's... The pain intensified, and I felt wetness between my legs. When I looked down, my dress was stained with blood. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." Dante was already on his phone, already barking orders. "Claire, get back here now. Call an ambulance. Move." His arm wrapped around me as I started to slide off the bed, and the last thing I saw before the world went gray was the terror in his eyes. Absolute, consuming terror. "Stay with me," he commanded, his voice the only anchor in the darkness. "Emma, stay with me. Please, don't leave me again. Please," but the darkness was already pulling me under. I woke to the steady beep of monitors and the antiseptic smell of a hospital. The ceiling was white, unfamiliar, and for a moment I couldn't remember where I was, or why every muscle in my body ached. Then it all came rushing back. The penthouse, the blood, Dante's terrified face. My hand flew to my belly. "The baby's fine." I turned my head to find Dante sitting in a chair beside the bed, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His suit jacket was gone, his shirt wrinkled and partially unbuttoned, his hair disheveled from running his hands through it. But it was his eyes that stopped me, red-rimmed and haunted. "You're sure?" My voice came out raspy. "I'm sure." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Placental abruption. Partial, not complete. Dr. Morrison caught it in time. They've stabilized you both, but you're on strict bed rest for the remainder of the pregnancy." Relief flooded through me so intensely I felt tears prick my eyes. How long was I out? 14 hours. His voice was rough. Longest 14 hours of my life. I looked around the room properly now. This wasn't a regular hospital room. It was too large, too quiet, too private. "Where are we?" "Mount Sinai, private wing." He straightened slightly. "You've been assigned a team of specialists, the best in the city. They'll be monitoring you around the clock until delivery." "I can't afford... Emma." He cut me off gently but firmly. "Stop. Just stop. Money is the least of our concerns right now." I wanted to argue, but exhaustion pulled at me. The monitors beeped steadily, a rhythm that matched the strong heartbeat I could hear through speakers. The baby's heartbeat, I realized. They were letting me listen to it. "You stayed," I said quietly. "Where else would I be?" He ran a hand over his face. "I almost lost you both. Do you really think I'd leave? You have businesses to run, an empire to manage." "Fuck the empire." The words were harsh, vehement. "None of it matters if you're not..." He stopped, jaw clenching. "Antonio is handling things. I'm not going anywhere." A nurse came in then, checking my vitals with practiced efficiency. She was young, professional, and clearly trying not to stare at Dante. When she left, the silence returned, heavier now. "You should go home," I said. "Get some sleep." "I'm fine now." You collapsed in my arms, bleeding. "You are not fine. The doctors said you've been working yourself to exhaustion, that you're malnourished, that the stress you've been under could have killed both of you." His voice shook with barely controlled anger. "So no, Emma, you are not fine, and I am not leaving." I closed my eyes, too tired to fight. "I did what I had to do. You should have come to me. You're a criminal, Dante. The father of my child shouldn't be someone who—" I stopped, aware that even hospital rooms might have ears. "Someone who, what, kills people? Runs illegal operations?" He stood abruptly, pacing to the window. "You think I don't know what I am? You think I don't live with it every day? Then why do you keep doing it?" He was silent for a long moment, staring out at the city lights. When he spoke, his voice was quieter. "Because I was born into this life. Because walking away would mean war. Because there are people who depend on me. Families who would be destroyed if the Castellano Empire fell." He turned back to me. "But none of that matters now. What matters is keeping you and our baby safe." "Safe from what?" "From you." The words hung between us like a blade. I saw him flinch, saw the pain flash across his face. "If that's what it takes," he said finally. "If you need me to walk away after the baby is born, if you need me to be nothing more than a name on a birth certificate and a monthly check, I'll do it. But right now, you need me. Whether you want to admit it or not." He was right, and I hated it. I hated that I was lying in this hospital bed, dependent on him. Hated that my body had betrayed me, that I couldn't even keep myself and my baby safe on my own. I wanted to do it alone, I whispered. I wanted to prove I could. "Why?" He moved back to the chair, sitting down heavily. "Why was it so important to struggle when you didn't have to? Because accepting help from you meant accepting what you are, meant being complicit in—" I stopped, shaking my head. "I left because I couldn't live with myself, knowing where the money came from, knowing that every nice thing I had was paid for with someone else's suffering." "Is that what you think?" His voice was sharp. "That I'm some monster who hurts innocent people for profit? Aren't you?" He leaned back in the chair, studying me with those dark eyes that saw too much. "My family has been in this business for 4 generations. We control the ports, the unions, certain business interests that exist in the gray areas of the law. Yes, I've hurt people. Yes, I've done things that would horrify you. But I have rules, Emma. Lines I don't cross." "Like what? You don't kill on Sundays? Like I don't deal in drugs? Like I don't touch human trafficking? Like I don't hurt women or children, ever?" His voice was hard. "The men I've eliminated, and yes, I'll use that word since you seem to want honesty, were men who broke those rules, men who preyed on the vulnerable, men who would have done far worse if left unchecked. That doesn't make it right." "No," he agreed quietly. "It doesn't. But it makes it necessary. The world I operate in doesn't run on laws and morality, Emma. It runs on power and fear. And if I'm not the one holding that power, someone worse will take my place." I wanted to argue, to tell him that was just justification. But I was too tired, and some part of me, the part that had loved him, understood what he was saying. "I'm not asking you to forgive what I do," he continued. "I'm not even asking you to understand it. But I am asking you to let me take care of you and our child. Can you do that? Just for now?" Before I could answer, the door opened and Dr. Morrison walked in, followed by another doctor I didn't recognize. "Emma, you're awake. Good." She smiled, but her expression was serious. "We need to discuss your care going forward." The next hour was a blur of medical terminology and treatment plans. The partial placental abruption meant the baby wasn't getting optimal nutrition. I'd need to be monitored constantly. Any sign of complications, and they'd have to deliver early. Bed rest was non-negotiable. I couldn't even get up to use the bathroom without assistance. "We'd normally keep you here," Dr. Morrison said, "but given the circumstances, Mr. Castellano has arranged for a full medical setup at his residence. You'll have round-the-clock nursing care, and I'll be checking on you daily." "I didn't agree to that," I said, looking at Dante. You need rest and safety, he replied calmly. The penthouse has both, and before you argue about independence, remember what the doctor said. You can't be alone. Not for a single moment. He was right, damn him. I couldn't go back to my tiny apartment above the diner. Couldn't take care of myself, let alone work. This is temporary, I said firmly. Just until the baby is born, whatever you need. But there was something in his eyes that said he was already planning for more than temporary. They kept me in the hospital for 2 more days, monitoring, stabilizing, making sure the baby's heartbeat stayed strong. Dante never left. He slept in the chair beside my bed, worked from his laptop when I was sleeping, and was instantly alert every time a nurse or doctor came in. On the 3rd morning, they cleared me for discharge. A wheelchair appeared, and Dante was there, helping me into it with a gentleness that made my chest ache. I can walk, I protested. Doctor's orders. No unnecessary strain. His hand rested briefly on my shoulder. Don't fight me on this, Emma. The car was waiting at a private entrance, the same black Mercedes, but this time with a second vehicle full of security. When I raised an eyebrow, Dante's expression was grim. Word is out that I have a pregnant wife. That makes you a target. The reality of his world came crashing back. A target for who? Anyone who wants to hurt me. He helped me into the car, sliding in beside me. Don't worry. No one will touch you. I'll make sure of it. The certainty in his voice should have reassured me. Instead, it reminded me of exactly why I'd run. This life, this constant danger. This was no place to raise a child. But as we drove through the city, Dante's hand found mine, lacing our fingers together, and I didn't pull away. The penthouse had been transformed. What was once a bachelor's minimalist space now had medical equipment set up in the guest room. Monitors, an emergency kit, everything needed for immediate care. A nurse was waiting, a calm woman in her 40s who introduced herself as Patricia. I'll be here during the day, she explained. Another nurse, Michelle, will take the night shifts. We're both experienced in high-risk pregnancies. Dante guided me to the master bedroom. The bed had been fitted with special pillows for pregnancy, and there was a small refrigerator stocked with healthy snacks within arm's reach. You thought of everything, I said quietly. I had 48 hours to prepare while you were in the hospital. He helped me onto the bed, adjusting pillows until I was comfortable. I need you to promise me something. What? That you'll actually rest, that you won't try to do things on your own just to prove a point. His hand cupped my cheek. I know you're independent. I know you hate needing help. But for the next month, can you just let go? Let me take care of you? The vulnerability in his voice undid me. This wasn't the cold Mafia boss, the feared Dante Castellano. This was the man I'd fallen in love with, the one who'd shown me glimpses of who he might have been in a different life. 1 month, I agreed. And then we talk about what happens after you've given birth safely, after you've recovered, after... He stopped, his thumb brushing across my cheekbone. After I've had time to show you that I can be what you need. Dante, I know I can't change what I am, but I can change how it affects you. He leaned down, pressing his forehead to mine. Please, Emma, give me this chance. I closed my eyes, breathing in his scent, feeling the warmth of his skin. This was dangerous. Every moment I spent with him, every tender gesture, every glimpse of the man beneath the monster. It was eroding my defenses, but I was too tired to fight, too tired to run, too tired to do anything but surrender. Okay, I whispered. His breath hitched. Then his lips brushed against my forehead, soft and reverent. Thank you. He pulled back, and I opened my eyes to find him watching me with an expression that made my heart stutter. Possession? Yes. But also something deeper. Something that looked dangerously like love. Rest now, he said softly. I'll be right outside if you need anything. He started to move away, but my hand shot out, catching his wrist. He froze. Stay, I said before I could stop myself. Just stay until I fall asleep. The smile that crossed his face was like sunrise. He kicked off his shoes and climbed onto the bed beside me, careful not to jostle me. His arm came around my shoulders, and I found myself curling into his side, my head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "I've got you," he murmured into my hair. "I've got you both. And I'm never letting go again." I should have protested, should have reminded him that this was temporary. But his warmth was seeping into me, his presence surrounding me like a shield, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt safe. As I drifted off to sleep, I heard him whisper something else, so quiet I almost missed it. "I love you, Emma." I never stopped. And despite everything, despite all the reasons I shouldn't, my heart whispered back, "I know." The days blurred into a strange new routine. I woke each morning to find Dante already awake, sitting in the armchair by the window, watching me with those dark eyes. Patricia would come in with breakfast. Always something nutritious, always more food than I could finish. Then there were the checkups, the monitoring, the endless waiting. But it was the nights that undid me. Dante had kept his promise about separate bedrooms, sleeping in the guest room despite my presence in what had once been our shared bed. But every night, around 10, he'd appear in the doorway, asking the same question. "Can I stay until you fall asleep?" And every night, I said yes. It became our ritual. He'd lie beside me, fully clothed, careful not to touch me unless I reached for him first. We'd talk in the darkness, about everything and nothing. He told me about the business deals he was managing remotely, careful to keep the details vague. I told him about the diner, about the regulars who came in every morning, about the life I'd built in my exile. We didn't talk about the future. We existed in this suspended moment, where the only thing that mattered was the baby growing inside me and the fragile truce between us. 2 weeks passed. The baby grew stronger, more active. Sometimes, when a particularly hard kick woke me in the middle of the night, I'd find Dante already awake, his hand hovering over my belly, asking silent permission. I'd take his hand and place it where the movement was strongest, watching his face transform with wonder. "She's strong," he'd whisper. "She? Or he? I just have a feeling." His thumb would trace gentle circles over my stomach, strong and stubborn, like her mother. It was during one of these quiet moments, 3 weeks into my bed rest, that everything changed. I woke to raised voices outside the bedroom. Dante's voice sharp with authority, and another man's, one I didn't recognize. I sat up carefully, straining to hear. Don't care what Salvatore says. The answer is no. He's not asking, Dante. He's demanding. You know what that means. It means he's forgotten who runs this family. Dante's voice dropped to that dangerous register. Tell him if he has a problem with how I'm conducting business, he can come to me directly. But he stays away from her. That's non-negotiable. Silence. Then, he knows about the baby, about Emma. He's saying it makes you weak, that you're distracted. Get out. Dante, I said get out. And tell Salvatore that if he or anyone else comes near my wife, near my child, they'll answer to me personally. Do you understand? Footsteps. The elevator chiming. Then silence. The bedroom door opened slowly. Dante stood there, and I could see the tension radiating from him, the barely controlled fury in his eyes. How much did you hear? He asked. Enough. Who's Salvatore? He exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. My uncle. My father's brother. He's been unhappy with some of my recent decisions. Decisions like taking time away from business to take care of me. Decisions like refusing to expand into territories that would require methods I'm not willing to use. He came into the room, sitting on the edge of the bed. He thinks I've gone soft, that having a family makes me vulnerable. Doesn't it? I asked quietly. You just said I'm a target. The baby is a target. How is that not a weakness? It's not a weakness. It's a line in the sand. His hand found mine. Before you, I had nothing to lose. That made me reckless, dangerous in ways that even I didn't fully understand. But now... He squeezed my fingers gently. Now I have everything to lose. That doesn't make me weak. It makes me lethal. Because there is nothing I won't do to protect you both. The certainty in his voice sent a shiver down my spine. This was the man people feared. The one who controlled an empire through force and will. But it was also the man who brought me water in the middle of the night, who read pregnancy books with sticky notes marking important passages, who talked to my belly when he thought I was asleep. I'm scared, I admitted. Not of you, of this world you live in, of raising a child surrounded by danger. I know. He shifted closer, his free hand moving to rest on my belly. I've been thinking about that, about what comes after. After the baby is born, after you've recovered. He took a breath. I want us to leave. I stared at him. Leave? What do you mean? Leave the city. Leave this life. At least the visible parts of it. His words came faster now, like he'd been holding them in for too long. I've been setting things up. Antonio can run the day-to-day operations. I can manage the rest remotely. We could go somewhere quiet, somewhere safe. Raise our child away from, he gestured vaguely, all of this. You'd do that? Just walk away? For our family. I'd do anything for you. His eyes met mine, and the intensity there took my breath away. I know I can't erase what I am, Emma. I know I can't undo the things I've done. But I can choose what comes next, and I choose you. I choose our baby. I choose a life where my child doesn't have to grow up afraid. Tears pricked my eyes. Dante, you don't have to answer now. Just think about it. Please. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I rarely got calls anymore. My old life had faded into memory, and I had no one left who would reach out. So when I saw the number, my stomach dropped. The diner. Hello? Emma, it's Gary. My old boss's voice was tight with worry. Listen, I don't want to alarm you, but there were some men here today, asking about you. My blood ran cold. What kind of men? The kind that make people nervous. They wanted to know where you lived, when you worked last, if you'd mentioned anything about where you were going. He paused. Emma, what kind of trouble are you in? Dante was already on his feet, his expression dark. He held out his hand for the phone, and I gave it to him without question. This is Dante Castellano, who came to your establishment. His voice was pure authority. I watched him listen, his jaw clenching tighter with each passing second. Description. I see. No, you did the right thing calling. If they come back, you contact this number immediately. He rattled off a phone number. And Gary? Thank you for looking out for her. He ended the call, immediately dialing another number. Antonio. We have a problem. Someone's sniffing around Emma's old workplace. I don't know yet. Get me eyes on the diner and run down everyone who's been asking questions about my wife in the past month. He paused. No, not Salvatore's style. This is something else. He hung up and turned back to me, and I saw something in his face that terrified me. Not anger. Fear. What's happening? I asked. I don't know yet, but we're going to find out. He pulled out another phone. I'd learned he kept several, and made a series of rapid calls, each one short and clipped. Within minutes, he'd mobilized what sounded like an entire security apparatus. When he finally sat back down, his hand immediately went to my belly. As if reassuring himself we were still there, still safe. I need you to tell me everything, he said quietly. Everyone you talked to after you left. Every place you stayed. Every person who might have known you were pregnant. Why? What does it matter? Because someone is looking for you. Someone who isn't me, who isn't my organization. His thumb traced soothing circles over my stomach, a contrast to the tension in his voice. And I need to know who and why before they get any closer. The baby kicked hard, as if responding to the stress. I took a shaky breath and started talking. I told him about the bus station where I'd bought a ticket with cash, the motel where I'd stayed for 2 weeks, working under the table at a laundromat, the diner where I'd finally landed a steady job, the free clinic where I'd confirmed the pregnancy. Did you use your real name anywhere? He asked. Only at the clinic. They needed ID for the medical records. His expression darkened. The clinic. What was it called? Women's Health Services, on Maple Street. Why? He was already on the phone again. I need everything you can find on Women's Health Services. Maple Street location. Patient records, staff, security footage, everything from the past 8 months. I don't care if it's legal. Get it done. He hung up and looked at me. Free clinics sometimes sell patient information, especially pregnancy records. Why would anyone want? I stopped, understanding dawning. The baby, he confirmed grimly. An heir to the Castellano fortune. Leverage against me. A target for anyone who wants to hurt me or force my hand. The room suddenly felt too small, the air too thin. Oh God. Dante, what if... No. He cupped my face in his hands, forcing me to look at him. No one is touching you. No one is touching our baby. Do you understand me? I will burn down this entire city before I let anything happen to either of you. The ferocity in his voice should have scared me. Instead, it anchored me. Because I knew he meant every word. We should have left already, I whispered. We will. As soon as you're cleared for travel, his forehead pressed against mine. 2 more weeks. Dr. Morrison said 2 more weeks of monitoring and then we can go. I already have a place arranged, remote, secure, somewhere no one will find us. What about your uncle? What about... I don't care. The words were fierce, absolute. Let them fight over the scraps of the empire. Let them tear each other apart if that's what they want. All that matters is you and our baby. A knock on the door interrupted us. Antonio stepped in, his face grim. We have a problem. The men asking around at the diner, we have an ID. They're Russian, Volkov's crew. Dante went very still. Dmitry Volkov? The same. Word is he's looking to expand his territory. Thinks taking your family would give him leverage in negotiations. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Dante stood slowly, and I saw the transformation happen in real time. The gentle man who'd been holding me became someone else. Someone cold, lethal, terrifying, double the security, no one in or out without clearance, and get me a meeting with Volkov. Dante, Antonio started. Get me the meeting. Tonight, if possible. His voice was pure ice. He wants to negotiate? Let's negotiate. Antonio nodded and left. Dante turned back to me, and I saw him visibly force himself to soften, to push back the darkness I'd just witnessed. I have to handle this, he said quietly. But I'm leaving 6 men outside this room. Patricia is here. You'll be safe. You're going to meet with him? The man who's been hunting me? I'm going to make him understand that you're off limits, that this baby is off limits. He leaned down, pressing a kiss to my forehead. I'm going to make sure he never thinks about you again. Dante, I caught his hand. Be careful, please. Something softened in his eyes, always. I have too much to come back to now. He kissed me then, really kissed me, for the first time since I'd walked back into his life. It was gentle and desperate all at once, a promise and a goodbye. And when he pulled away, I saw my own fear reflected in his eyes. I love you, he said quietly. I need you to know that, whatever happens, whatever you decide after all this is over, I love you. The words stuck in my throat. I couldn't say them back. Not yet. Not when I still didn't know if we had a future. He smiled sadly, like he understood. It's okay. You don't have to say it. Just be here when I get back. Where else would I go? I tried to joke, but it came out shaky. Nowhere. Not anymore. He pressed one more kiss to my forehead, then to my belly. Take care of your mama, little one. Daddy's got some business to handle. And then he was gone, leaving me alone with my racing heart and the terrifying certainty that everything was about to change. Again. The hours crawled by with agonizing slowness. Patricia checked on me every 30 minutes, her professional calm doing nothing to ease the knot of anxiety in my chest. I tried to sleep, tried to rest like I was supposed to, but every sound made me jump. Every footstep in the hallway had me holding my breath, waiting. It was past midnight when I finally heard the elevator. I sat up as carefully as I could, my heart hammering. The penthouse door opened, and I heard low voices, Dante and Antonio, discussing something I couldn't make out. Then Dante appeared in the doorway. He looked exhausted, his tie loosened, his jacket gone. But he was whole, unharmed. The relief that flooded through me was so intense I felt dizzy. Hey, he said softly. coming to sit on the edge of the bed. You should be sleeping. You think I could sleep not knowing if you were... I stopped, shaking my head. What happened? It's handled. His hand found mine, squeezing gently. Volkov won't be a problem anymore. What does that mean? Dante, did you... I made him an offer he couldn't refuse. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Turns out he wasn't actually interested in you or the baby. He was interested in the ports. Someone had told him that I was distracted, vulnerable, that now would be the perfect time to make a move. Someone? You mean your uncle? Salvatore. The name came out like a curse. He's been playing both sides, trying to force me out by making me look weak. The pregnancy was supposed to be proof that I'd lost my edge. So, what did you do? I gave Volkov the ports. He said it calmly, like he was discussing the weather. Not all of them. Just enough to keep him happy and to make it clear that I'm not interested in territorial disputes anymore. In exchange, he pulls back completely. No interest in my family, no moves against my remaining operations. I stared at him. You just gave away part of your empire? I gave away a piece of something I don't want anymore. His other hand moved to my belly, spreading protectively over our baby. What I want is this. You. Our child. A life that doesn't involve looking over my shoulder every second, wondering who's going to make a move next. And your uncle? His expression hardened. Salvatore made his choice. He sided with an outsider against family. There are consequences for that. The cold finality in his voice told me everything I needed to know. I should have been horrified. Part of me was. But another part, the part that had felt our baby's kicks, that had nearly lost everything in that hospital, understood. In Dante's world, betrayal wasn't forgiven. It was eliminated. It's done, he said quietly, reading my expression. All of it. Volkov has his territory. Salvatore is no longer a factor. And Antonio is taking over the remaining operations. I'm out, Emma. Really out. Just like that? Just like that. He leaned in, pressing his forehead to mine. I told you I'd do anything for you. For our family. I meant it. The baby chose that moment to kick. Hard enough that Dante felt it against his palm. He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound full of wonder and joy. Strong, he murmured. Definitely takes after you. We don't know if it's a girl. I know. He shifted, lying down beside me and pulling me carefully into his arms. I can feel it. She's going to be fierce and stubborn and beautiful, just like her mother. I nestled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat steady and strong. What if it's a boy? Then he'll be fierce and stubborn and handsome. His hand traced lazy patterns on my back. Either way, they'll be ours. And they'll be safe. That's all that matters. We lay there in the darkness, and for the first time since I'd walked into that office building 3 weeks ago, I let myself believe it might actually be true, that we might actually have a chance. Emma? Do you remember the first time we met? I smiled against his chest. The gallery opening. You spilled champagne on my dress. You told me it was an improvement over the pattern. His voice was warm with memory. I fell in love with you right then. This woman who wasn't afraid of me, who looked at me like I was just another person, instead of Dante Castellano, head of the family. I didn't know who you were then. I know. That's why I fell so hard. His arms tightened around me. You saw me, Emma. Not my name, not my reputation, just me. And when I found out the truth, when I saw what you really were, you ran. Like any sane person would. He pressed a kiss to the top of my head. I don't blame you for that. I never have. But you looked for me, every single day, because even though I understood why you left, I couldn't accept it. Couldn't accept that I'd lost you. He shifted, tilting my chin up so I had to look at him. I know I don't deserve a second chance. I know everything I am should make you run again, but I'm asking anyway. Stay with me, Emma. Not just until the baby is born. Not just for appearances. Stay with me because you want to. Because you believe we can make this work. I looked into his eyes, those dark eyes that had haunted my dreams for 2 years, and I saw everything laid bare. Love, hope, fear. This man who controlled an empire with an iron fist was terrified that I'd say no. I'm scared, I whispered. I know. What if it's not enough? What if the love isn't enough to make up for everything else? Then we'll figure it out together. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. I'm not asking for perfect, Emma. I'm just asking for a chance. The baby kicked again, as if casting another vote. I pressed my hand over Dante's, feeling our child move beneath our palms. This little life we'd created. This unexpected miracle. Okay, I heard myself say. Okay, we'll try. The smile that broke across his face was like sunlight. He kissed me then, deep and thorough and full of promise, and I kissed him back, pouring 2 years of longing and fear and love into it. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. I love you, he said again. God, Emma, I love you so much. I love you too. The words came easier this time. I never stopped. Even when I wanted to, I couldn't. He held me close, and we lay there together, talking and planning and dreaming. He told me about the house he'd arranged, a sprawling property in Montana, far from the city, with mountains and forests and space to breathe. He talked about teaching our child to ride horses, about quiet mornings and peaceful nights, about building a life that was ours. And slowly, I let myself believe it. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of preparation. Dr. Morrison cleared me for travel. Though she insisted on coming with us for the first month after delivery, Dante arranged everything: the house, the staff, the security that would be invisible but present. Antonio flew out to Montana personally to supervise the setup. And through it all, Dante never left my side. I woke one morning to find him packing, carefully folding baby clothes we'd ordered online into a small suitcase. He'd developed a slight obsession with preparing, reading every book he could find, asking Dr. Morrison endless questions. We're really doing this, I said from the bed. He looked up, smiling. We're really doing this. No regrets? Not a single one. He came to sit beside me, his hand automatically going to my belly. You're my family now. You and this little one. Nothing else matters. The baby kicked in response, and we both laughed. 3 days before we were scheduled to leave, I went into labor. It started with a twinge during breakfast, so mild I almost ignored it. But Dante noticed immediately. He'd become hyper-aware of every expression, every movement. Emma? I'm fine. Just a cramp. 20 minutes later, another one. Stronger this time. Patricia was already on her phone, calling Dr. Morrison, and Dante was helping me to the car before I could fully process what was happening. It's too early, I said, gripping his hand as another contraction hit. We have 3 more weeks. Babies come when they want to come. Dr. Morrison's voice was calm through the speakerphone. I'm meeting you at the hospital. Emma, just breathe. Everything is going to be fine. The next hours were a blur of pain and pressure, and Dante's voice, steady and sure, anchoring me through it all. You're doing so well, love, so strong. Just breathe with me. His hand never left mine, even when the contractions became unbearable. Even when I screamed and cursed and told him I couldn't do this, he stayed. His forehead pressed to mine, his voice in my ear, his absolute certainty that I could do this carrying me through. And then, after what felt like forever, and no time at all, I heard it. The sharp, indignant cry of our baby. It's a girl, Dr. Morrison announced, smiling. A beautiful, healthy girl. They placed her on my chest, this tiny, perfect creature with a shock of dark hair and lungs that could wake the dead. I stared at her in wonder, tears streaming down my face, and felt my entire world shift and realign. Oh, I breathed. Oh, Dante, look at her. He was crying too, I realized. This dangerous man who controlled an empire with fear was crying as he looked at our daughter. She's perfect, he whispered, his finger gently touching her tiny hand. She gripped it immediately, her cry quieting. She's absolutely perfect. What should we name her? I asked. He looked at me, then back at our daughter. Sophia. It means wisdom. I want her to be smarter than both of us, to make better choices. Sophia Castellano. I tested the name. It felt right. Hi, Sophia. We're your parents. We're probably going to mess this up sometimes, but we love you so much already. She blinked up at me with dark eyes. Dante's eyes. And I fell completely, irrevocably, in love. We left for Montana when Sophia was a week old. The private plane was set up with everything we could possibly need, and Dr. Morrison came with us, just as promised. Patricia, too, because I'd grown attached to her steady presence. When we landed and drove to the house, I caught my first glimpse of our new life. It was beautiful. A sprawling ranch house with views of snow-capped mountains, surrounded by forest and sky. Remote, peaceful, safe. "What do you think?" Dante asked nervously as we pulled up. Sophia was asleep in my arms, her tiny face peaceful. I looked at the house, at the life waiting for us, and then at Dante. "I think it's perfect." He smiled, that full, genuine smile that I'd fallen in love with. "Welcome home, Emma. Home." The word settled over me like a warm blanket. Inside, the house was everything we'd planned. A nursery painted soft yellow, a master bedroom with mountain views, a kitchen built for family dinners. It was so far from the penthouse, from that world of marble and danger. That night, after Sophia had been fed and changed, and was sleeping in her bassinet beside our bed, Dante and I stood at the window, looking out at the stars. "Do you miss it?" I asked quietly. "The power, the control, all of it?" "No." He wrapped his arms around me from behind, careful of my still healing body. "I don't miss any of it. This, you, Sophia, this life, this is everything I never knew I needed." I leaned back against him, letting myself relax completely for the first time in 2 years. "I love you, Dante. I love you too." He pressed a kiss to my temple. "Thank you." "For what?" "For coming back. For giving me another chance. For our daughter." His arms tightened slightly. "For believing that people can change." I turned in his arms, looking up at him. "You didn't change who you are. You just chose what matters more, and what matters is this family." He cupped my face gently. "You're my redemption, Emma. You and Sophia. Everything good in my life starts with you." I kissed him then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When we broke apart, we checked on Sophia together, this tiny miracle sleeping peacefully, unaware that her existence had changed everything. Dante's hand found mine as we stood over her bassinet. "We're going to give her everything," he whispered. "Love, safety, a choice about who she wants to be. She'll never have to live in shadows." "No," I agreed. "She'll live in the light." And as I stood there, with the man I loved, and the daughter we'd created, looking out at the mountains bathed in moonlight, I finally understood what freedom really meant. It wasn't running away. It wasn't being alone. It was choosing who you wanted to be, despite where you came from. It was building something new from the ashes of the past. It was loving someone completely, flaws and all, and being loved the same way in return. We'd both been prisoners once, me to my fear, him to his legacy. But here, in this house under these stars, with our daughter breathing softly between us, we were finally free. "Come to bed," Dante said softly, his hand warm in mine, and I did. Not because I had to, not because I was afraid to be alone, but because I wanted to, because this was my choice, my life, my family. Our story hadn't started perfectly. It had been messy and complicated and full of pain. But as I settled into Dante's arms, with Sophia's bassinet within reach and the Montana night quiet around us, I knew that the ending, our ending, was going to be exactly what we needed. Not perfect, not easy, but ours. And that was enough. More than enough.